Jennifer with Iris Productions. Today I'm going to go over making a slideshow. Now this is something that can get you introduced into Sony Vegas really easily, understanding some of the basic features that Sony Vegas has to offer. And then from there you can progress into harder complex slideshows. You know, maybe you want to make a birthday slideshow for your kid. So if it's making it for your kids and you just want to get a basic tutorial, this should really help you. I believe I'm going to break this into parts. First, making the slideshow, and then maybe rendering it and, burning it. Maybe I'll slap it all into one if time will fit. So let's get started. So what you want to do is open up your project. I just like to create a new bin. Okay, so create a bin called Pictures, and then you'll probably want to create a bin called Music, because more than likely you're going to bring a music track in, and I will show you on how to fade up and fade down. That's the number one thing that I get, are people bringing in their slideshow and maybe they need to adjust the audio, and all you needed to do was just put a simple fade on it. So what you want to do first is find your folder where all your images are that you would want to use. So I'm just going to select some of these, and to select different pictures like I'm doing, you just hold down Control. If you want to select a whole set, in like a whole group of them, you would just hold Shift down and click from the beginning to the end of where you wanted your files. Okay, so once you have located your images, you bring them in. Now you can go up into Options, go to Preferences, and here is your preference window. Now you really must get familiar with this, because when you are editing pictures, this is the way that I would do it. You go into Editing, and then over here is all that you will need. Okay, so it's saying automatically overlap your media. So meaning when you bring in multiple images, there will be a dissolve in between. You can go in here and you can adjust it, or you can just leave it at where it's at. Here is where you set your new still image length. Now, right now it's about, 6 seconds. If you want to take it up higher, you can do that. 8 seconds, 10 seconds, it's really up to you. You can control it within the timeline here, but the best way is to do it in sections. Let's say I'm doing a memorial. I'm opening it up, it's a baby pictures, it's a really slow song. I know I'm going to be longer than 6 seconds. I'm going to probably be about 8. So you can switch it to 8 seconds, and you can just simply hit 8 enter, and then it would apply that. And see, now it is here. If you wanted cuts, you could change this, but I personally would not do that. So I'm going to leave it at 8 seconds. You apply it, say OK, and now once you bring in, you can say Control A, and it selects everything in my bin. Drop it down anywhere. See, it's blank right here now, but Sony Vegas just allows you to drop it down onto a track, and it automatically created a track for me. You can see that these images are, pretty big. So I'm just going to leave them really at where I'm at right now at 8 seconds, just, for purposes of this tutorial. Let's say I'm going to import in some music. Okay, and so when you find your music, you can just drop it down onto your timeline the same exact way. Now I want to go over these two features. Auto ripple. So let's say that you have that selected, and you can have the drop-down menu, affected tracks and markers and regions and bus, or all tracks. Now you just want to have your affected tracks, buses, and etc. So I'm going to expand into my track, and I do that simply by scrolling, or you could on your up arrow use your up arrow. Now on my video timeline, I right click and then I have some options here, and I'm going to say insert empty event because you always want to start from black. And you can see that I can drag this track, and when I drag my first image, it takes every single thing. And that is because I have this selected. If I did not have that selected, you just take one at a time. In a slideshow, it's perfect to use this function. If you want to keep the music together with it, then you could say all tracks, but more than likely you're not going to want to do that. So I expand into my audio track. I right click when I am on my audio track, and you see over here it's highlighted. If I'm up here, track 1 is highlighted. Now track 2, my audio, is highlighted. Insert empty event. Other editing programs don't use an empty event on audio, but they should because it's so helpful. Right here is where you grab this handle and you can bring up and down the gain. Now, so if you want it to be really quiet throughout the whole song, then you can do this. Or I'm going to get a little technical here, and you hit V for volume. This is something that you will use with keyframes. If keyframes scare you, then just plug your ears and do what I did first, or don't affect your volume at all. So this is a handle. I'm going to drop down my keyframe from 0. I'm going to fade it up just quietly, and you can see it's controlling like the dB. It's negative 2.7 dB. Play it. I can see up here that it's still a little loud. So in tandem, you can bring down your gain and use your volume. And then that's just meaning, I could now create some more keyframes. Let's say somebody wanted to use some video and they were speaking, or you could put in a voiceover or something like that. Yummy cookies right here. And you could fade down the audio and fade up your video track with its natural audio. And you can just still have it like really gently going at the same time. So you would just have another video track. You can insert an audio or a video track. Here's an audio track. You could insert your sample, yummy, yummy cookie, like you would just put it right here, and they could both be rolling at the same time. Hopefully that you understand that. If you wanted, just let me know. I'll make a tutorial on that one. That one would be pretty easy to do. So here we go. A nice fade up from the picture, and it's actually right on cue. Listen to this drop. So there you go, how to fade that audio gently if you wanted to do that. Now with your dissolves, as you're watching it, you could technically move your videos around at the same time. So like when I'm editing, I'm going to do this in real time during my slideshow. I'm going to be listening to my music, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, here, my dissolve needs to be here. You can just bring it down, extend it in real time as you're working. Now I have this this function applied, so if I didn't, this would work in a different way and I would have gaps. So that's why I really use it, because for me it just works perfectly, because I like to create my cuts, my dissolves on a beat. I'm not going to be working with the music that much now, and it's all just a personal preference. Some people like to edit along with the music, and some people don't. Up to you, strictly up to you. Okay, so now you're not going to have a slideshow with just blank, no movement at all. So there's different things that you can do. I have created a tutorial on using track motion. Track motion is definitely an advanced feature. It is right here. You apply it, and this is using keyframes to make your movement. It's not working on each individual clip. It's working on like your canvas. So it's going to affect the whole image, the whole video, the whole timeline, number one, if I was to initiate track motion. And like I said, it's in a different tutorial. Please look for it if you need some sort of assistance. Today, I'm just really going to go over the pan and crop because that's basic. That's really where you're going to start at. So you just click on it. Okay, so now understanding these two windows here. My cursor here, it has sync locked. So if I move my cursor up here, it's going to move my cursor down here and vice versa. So they're in tandem together so you can see where you're at in the clip. Now when you want to make your crop, you want to be at the very beginning of the clip. But let's say, oh, well, I can't see the preview. Well, in that case, what you have to do is, and what I do a lot when I'm working in this, is turn off this option so that nothing else will really be affected and dragged down. So you're at the beginning of the clip now with no dissolve. That's what this window is seeing, your very first frame. Now you can like zoom out, scroll down, and get this whole window because you need to see the entire picture so you can grab onto these handles and see how I'm dragging it in, I'm dragging it out. Okay, over here you can say this is size about center, so it's going to take the whole image and smash it down as it was one. If you wanted to, you know, mess around with the aspect ratio, you could do that, but see how it's all crunching in, crunching out. I don't like using that. That can get you in some trouble. So just, you know, if you want to and you need to take like a clip of something out, then maybe that would be the way to do it, but I personally don't do it that way. Okay, and then you can move freely, and you know, these are really the only options that I personally use. Besides, if you're working with your image and you're having some problems, either say no and no, or you know, and then you keep it back. So maintain aspect ratio. When that happens to me a lot is if I'm creating a menu page, I've created it in Photoshop, and then all of a sudden it won't be like, you know, 1920 by 1080. Now it's like 720. So I'll go in and either I'll mess with this one, or vice versa, or both. I'm not quite sure. Right at this moment, 100% what one I do. Okay, so right here, you need to make sure that you are on position and not mask, because mask is something different. Position, you're moving the position. So you take your little cursor to the very end of the clip, and we can see that we were definitely there, and then you just make your movement. Now when you drag it back, you can see the actual outline, this frame is moving, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and because that is your start location, here is the end of the clip. Let's just do a few of these and then show you how it works. So I'm in the middle of the clip again, remember? Well, I'm going to show you what happens if you just make that movement from here to the end and you are not properly at the very beginning of the clip. I'm just going to show you that right now. So we'll click L for play. You get to see my nice movement, zooming into my center. And okay, so here we go. We're zooming in, and double movement. So if you want it, you know, get a little creative and have double movement like that, you just have to create 2 of these keyframes. So here we are in a clip. You know, I can, let's say, start out right here. I progress through my clip, move right here, and then let's go to the end of the clip, take the whole thing, and then you can just like preview your clip. If you don't know which one it is, when it's green right here in the event pan crop, you know that there is something on it. There's an effect. Okay, so see in the beginning here how I had to zoom in, and that is because this little keyframe right here is not at the very beginning. So pop it at the beginning, and then let's see what happens. slowly crunches in. Now, if you have some issues, like all of a sudden you can't see that, I can't explain why, and I don't even try to because I just do it. I have had problems with it before and then deleting it. If you have some issues, delete the whole picture and then go back up into your pictures and try to find the image again. Let's say that you're like have 5,000 pictures and you're like, I can't even begin to go up here and figure out where my picture is. Go into this picture, right click, and all you have to say is select in project media list, and then there it is. So then you can kind of figure, okay, so this was 272, here's 271. Okay. Since we're on that, maybe you don't have these file numbers. You probably don't. So actually under view, go to the bottom, and then here's all the information, active take information. And you just have to make sure that that is selected. And just remember, I'm viewing, I'm looking at it, so it's under view. And there it is. I wish I would have told you that earlier because you're probably really curious. I always use it, and then it's really helpful when you have multiple tracks because then you can see whose camera is what camera and whatnot. So there I would go, drop my picture right back down, and there it is again. So really that's it in a nutshell. So once you've got your movements, you just go all the way through to the end. I'm going to show you how to bring in another track. I apologize. I'm going to bring in the same track. Okay, so now using the volume and the fade, you could just simply fade one track up from another. Okay, but I like to use both. Because then you can see right here, I didn't like how that last horn, it was like implying the end. So now if I have volume control on one and I don't on the other, you just have to click on the other track and then get your volume control. I'm double clicking again, as I said, and I'm going to make sure that you can see I'm fading out just slightly here. So I'm going to bring this back. So when my up is equivalent to my down is where I want to find myself. You know, and you really, I mean, I could get crazy technical here. I could probably even line that up right where it didn't even sound like it ended, like it looped. So if you need to ever loop a song, really, you could do this like the same way instead of copy, paste, all like this. This is how some people want to do it. But technically, you could. I personally like to have it down here because then you can have that really slow fade, beautiful for slideshows. Okay. Here we are at the end of our video. I'm going to right click, insert empty event. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to do the same thing. And I would mark O for out, and then let's listen to this audio fade out. Yeah, see, I don't like that either. Drop that down. Let's hear the difference. That sounded gorgeous. Okay, so let's say you want to use transitions. Now, you definitely need to have that. There's different ways you can go about it. Here's a transitions tab, and if you can't find that, you go to view again, and then here's all these different things that you may need. And transitions is one of them. So all different kinds of fun things you can do. Some of them are a little cheesy, but a lot of them you can take control over. And so some of my favorites, spiral. Like I adore spiral. I'm going to do spiral here though. And then so you can use the default once you apply a transition, and you can see it's right here. If I wanted to mess around with it, I could do all these different things that was in the option window. You could just change it at any time, and then you can, you know, modify each one. You can have a border. And what I like to do is click right on it so that you can kind of see spiraling out. Do you want it to spiral in? You know, I mean, I'd probably spiral out clockwise, you know, whatever you want to do. Let's just mess around with that just to see what, you know, we can do. And then you play it. You could extend it and make it longer. And remember, I have this function turned off. So if I had that function turned on, like when you're messing around with your, you know, crossfades, you see what's happening is it's adjusting. It's not letting me extend out my actual transition time. Okay. So make sure that your volume is exactly at the same as your video, because when you render out your video, you want to have your audio and video completely in sync. If you do not have the audio exactly at the same length and you render out an MPEG, you have to render them out differently, it's not going to work. So, hey, here is part 1, and from here you would just go rendering. So hopefully this gets you started, and please join me for part 2, and please subscribe, and if you'd like, I'd love some feedback. Thanks for joining me.